Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh and a very good morning to Sir Faiz. Today our group will be presenting on the case study which titled Power and Gender Bias. Before that, our group consists of 3 members, which is me, Nur Shazaliana binti Abdullah, Norin Aina Faikah binti Muhammad Karya, and Nurul Aina Jiha binti Muhammad Daud. Throughout this presentation, we will be cover the summary of the case, ethics theories or concepts or guidelines or best practices, discussion questions, and also the conclusion. My name is Nur Shazaliana binti Abdullah and I will be explaining the summary of the case. So, power and gender bias is about the case of Powell versus Kleiner Perkins, where a lawsuit had been made by Ellen Powell against her employer on gender discrimination. There are 4 claims that were made by Powell against Kleiner Perkins, which is the first one is they discriminate Powell on the basis of gender by failing to promote her and terminating her employment. The second claim is they retaliated by failing to promote her because the conversations she had in late 2011 and also the memo from January 4, 2012. The third one is they failed to take reasonable action to prevent gender discrimination against Paul. And the last claim that were made by Paul against Kleiner Perkins is they retaliated against her by terminating her employment because of the conversation she had in late 2011 and also the memo from January 4, 2012. So, in the court, the defense case focused on Paul's performance and character, and it was noted that Paul had received several negative performance reviews and she was not a team player. And the evidence such as evaluations and also the message, both personal and professional, had been submitted in the court. And other than that, Kleiner Perkins claimed that Powell was paid more than her male counterparts, which include bonus and also training. And they also argued that Powell's job responsibility is mostly managerial, so it limits her involvement in investing. So therefore, they think that it is not a form of discrimination. In the end, Ellen Powell had lost the lawsuit against Kleiner Perkins, and the judgment was announced on March 27, 2015. And the jury ruled 10-2 in favor of Kleiner Perkins on the first 3 claims and 8-4 in favor of Kleiner Perkins on the 4th claim. So that's all for the summary of the case. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum. My name is Norin Aina binti Muhammad Karya. I will present about the ethic theories, question 3 and question 4. What is ethic? Based on Steinmetz and Steinmetz 2009 defines that ethic is the values where an individual used to interpret whether any particular action or behavior is considered acceptable and appropriate. Ethical theory provides reasons or norms for judging acts to be right or wrong and add terms to give a justification for these norms. Through the ethical theories, it will give you perspective for decision making and will learn to both justify your beliefs. Ethical theories that involve is consequentialist theory, which is utilitarianism. According to Theoras and Krasner 2014, define that utilitarianism as everyone should perform that act or follow that moral of rule which bring about the greatest good or happiness to everyone concerned. Based on the article, Powell made a claim to her employer that there was a gender discrimination in the company. She felt that it was unfair because she should be fired from her position after so long she had contributed to the company and was replaced by other men. But that main profile is same as her achievement. So, she hopes that her claim and story can help women out there to be aware and can bring women rights where treatment should be the same between women and men because it involves one's emotions. If employee satisfaction is well maintained, employees' performance will also increase.
We will be move on to the discussion questions. Question 1. At what points in this case study did Paul make the choice to voice her values? How did she voice her values in each of these instances? So basically in the late 2011, Paul and a co-worker have been asked by the senior partner to come up with ways on improving the treatment of women in the organization. But then she felt that her senior partner was not committed to improve the matters. So that is the point where she chose to voice her values. So in 4th January 2012, Paul had took the issue further and sent an official memorandum to some of her boss and outside firms on the issue of discrimination in the organization. In the memorandum, she described the harassment that she was faced in the organization, and also she claimed that she was excluded from the meeting by the male partners, and she also raised the issue that there is absence of policies that to prevent discrimination from happening in the organization. So then she had decided to file a lawsuit against her employer on the ground of gender discrimination on 10th May 2012. Next, we move on to the next question, which is question 2. Do you think Pao acted on her values effectively? Why or why not? Does the fact that she lost the lawsuit impact your reasoning? Explain. In our opinion, we think that Pao had acted her values effectively because the action of Pao speak up about her belief is something brave to be done. She is consistently believed that there's an action need to be taken to overcome the issue of gender discrimination that was faced by her in the organization. She kept raising the issue in the organization even though there is no response in return. Moreover, she take step by step in speaking out about the discrimination, such as write a memorandum to her boss, and until she decided to file a lawsuit against her employer. And the fact that she lost the lawsuit due to her negative performance in the organization did not impact our reasoning. Because we think that the courage to make a decision to take the matters a step forward in speaking out about the gender discrimination is something that need to be appreciated, because it had opened many eyes in the organization to avoid being discriminated. There's a lot of things need to be considered when speaking up, such as the perspective of others on the issue and also the arguments that need to be faced because of that issue. So Pao had shown that she is really brave because her action, which is stepping out of her comfort zone, had made a big difference in the society. Since then, the Pao's case had been inspire others who facing the workplace discrimination to take action on their behalf. And for example, there's a similar lawsuits have been filed against companies such as Facebook, Twitter, and also Microsoft.
Now we move to the question 3, which is think through the 7 pillars of GBV in relation to the case study above. Can you identify each pillar in Pao's actions? Are they any pillars that you think Pao could have engaged more effectively? Explain your opinions. Before that, what is GBV? GVV is giving voice to values means that explores the short-term skills needed to address ethical challenges and value conflicts. It means that knowing what to say, who should say it, and how to say it when you know what is right in a particular situation. GVV is enable people to make positive changes in the organization using problem definition, creative problem solving, constructive involvement, persuasion, reasoning, personal example, and leadership. GVV includes 7 pillars which voicing your voice leads to a better decision making. The first point is values. Values are attributing all cultures widely shared. It is relative where it depends on family, culture, religions, politics, and etc. There is no clear right or wrong about the values as everyone sees the issues differently. For example, how feel the discrimination of gender occurs in a company and there is no process for the HR problem in the firm, and she has tried to take the Kleiner Perkins to the right path. The second point is choice. Choice is when making decisions to act or not to act on the values and learn from the experience. For example, Pao made the claim regarding the issues arises when she is fired, even though she had contributed a lot, but unfortunately she had been replaced by other men. For the third point is normalization. It is expect a conflict of values until you approach it calmly and competently. It must be prepared and not give in to face any situation or challenges. For example, Pao has been trying to get Kleiner Perkins to the right path. She feels there are equal opportunities for women and men, even though she has been fired. But she did not give in, as she wants all people know about the story. For the fourth one is purpose. Purpose in whatever you do or act must have the target or aim. Based on that, we will know what we want to achieve. For example, Pao made the claim on the purpose so that her company can make some changes toward discrimination of gender and help the policy regarding this matter. For the fifth point is self-knowledge and alignment. It is when you act consistent with who you are and boost on your strength. For example, Pao is brave and a committed person when she knows she did nothing wrong. That is why she made the claim towards the company, as she has the courageous. For the sixth point is voice. Voice is speaking up on how you feel and trying to do the right thing by giving feedback, opinion, or ideas. For example, Pao voiced out her dissatisfaction when it is not her own benefit, but for the good of all with the aim of getting equal treatment possible in terms of business, leave or promotion, and not being fired unfairly. For the last one is reasons and rationalization. He is referring to objective, way to point out some problems and able to identify, also prepare well-reasoned responses. For example, Pao hoped that her story can give the inspire for others when facing the discrimination in the workplace to act so that others can make the judgment and defend the fact of these discriminated people. Okay, now we will move to question 4. If you were in Pao's position at Kleiner Perkins, what would you have done and why? How might the pillars of GVV influence your actions? Select one of the pillars and describe how you would enact it in the situation described in the case study. If gender discrimination occurs in my situation, I will report it to the HR to resolve this issue, because women also have the right to work for a living. According to Berita Harian newspaper, women have a big role to play in strengthening of human capital, so that their existence is very relevant to enhance the development of the country. When you make the report, it is not wrong because it can increase the level of the trust of people internally and externally, and thus the image of the company will also be raised because it has defended the fact of these discriminated people. The treatment should be the same between women and men because it involves one emotions. If employee satisfaction is well maintained and preserved well, employees' performance will be increased and they will be loyal to the company, as well as it can increase the productivity of the company. So, as the employees, we have the right to voice out about the situation while working there, and employers must be aware regarding these issues. Voicing out something is not for one's own benefit, but it for the good for all the company, as the aim of getting equal treatment in possibles of business, leave, or promotion. It should be given if the employees have served and have been long contributed to the company with the good performance. Based on Paul's situation, she is doing a good job by being brave to voice out her dissatisfaction regarding discrimination of gender, as her purpose is to solve the issues that happen in the company, and this can give the values to others to be careful and choose the right path before making any decisions. That's all from me. Thank you.
Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Thank you to Sir Faiz. My name is Nurul Ainajah binti Muhammad Daud and I will continue with the presentation. So, for question number 5, based on the information in the case study, if you were a juror, would you have ruled in favor of Paul or Cleaner Perkins? Why? How might your own values or bias influence your decision? If I were a juror, I will be at Paul's side because gender discrimination in workplace is real and must be avoided. As we all know, gender discrimination is a common thing that happens in an organization. This can lead to demotivated of the employees because they will feel down to the earth and their job performance will be worse. Sexual harassment also should not be existed in an organization where the minority workers are women. It is such an unrespected act toward them because the victims will feel shy to confront others and they will lose their self-confidence. At the early stage, Cleaner Perkins had failed to protect their female workers where the organization terminated them. This showed when the organization failed to promote Paul to a higher position, and they terminate Paul for some reasons. This rule is totally not influenced by any factors. Paul's case had shown that women must be brave if there were any misleading at workplace. This is because we as a woman must fight this gender discrimination so that we can stay in an organization and do the same work as females do. Next, question number 6. Have you ever worked at a job where you faced ethically questionable behavior? What did you do? In retrospect, do you wish you had done anything differently? How would you prepare for a similar situation today? I once experienced unethical behavior at workplace where some of my co-workers always came late to the workplace. Since the office still use punch card system, it is easier for them to come late because they will ask other workers to punch the card for them. This is happen almost every day, where the culture had become an usual thing at my workplace. However, the top management did not know about this problem that happened among the workers. This problem had influenced me several times, where I think that top management never know about this culture happen among the employees. In retrospect, I wish I'm not acting as such because it opposes my nature as an employee. I should not follow those wrongdoing in which I must advise other co-workers to not do so. As such, I will be more punctual and follow all rules and regulations stated by the organization so that I can stay longer in there. So we will proceed with question number 7. Have you ever witnessed or experienced discrimination in the workplace? What did you do? In retrospect, would you have done something differently? What do you think would be the ethically ideal way to handle instance of discrimination in the workplace? I once witnessed discrimination in workplace where my male senior discriminate other coworker because of her race. Since we work in an organization, the workers come from various background of gender, race, and nationality. So one of my male worker discriminate other female worker because she is an Indian. I just remain silent because I think it was improper to mind other business. But the discrimination victim became demotivated and her job performance became worse. And at some stage, she want to quit from the job. So from that situation, I realized that this discrimination is improper behavior. In retrospect, I would help the victim by giving her advice and motivation. This is because the victim needs someone to comfort her, to confront with the discriminator. In my opinion, ideal ways to handle instances of discrimination in workplace is by helping each other despite of their race or gender. Next, report to the employer if there are any discrimination happens in workplace. This is such a good action to be done by other employees because by reporting to the top management, they will take immediate action toward the discriminator and save the victims. Based on the case study, we can conclude that gender discrimination is happen in almost every organization. We can see that Pao was discriminate on some situation in which one of them is she was terminated from her job, although she had tried her best to stay in the organization. Moreover, she had become the victim of sexual harassment in the workplace. This is totally an unrespected behavior which women must be protected by the men, but the situation is vice versa. Although Pao failed the lawsuit, her case shows that gender discrimination must be avoided in an organization. Employer and top management plays an important role to prevent this thing from happening. The problems can be solved by taking immediate disciplinary action toward the unethical employees and tighten the organizational rule. So, gender discrimination must not be a problem to the organization where female and male workers must work together and achieve the organizational objective. So that's all from us. Thank you.